dear CJ thinker, welcome. Here is a tutorial that covers a school case. A classic, a must for everyone that starts in the art surface. I named the modeling of a case. I admit, it doesn't sell dreams. However, how many people I see trying to trick their model and add-on with complex stuff and who can't manage to finalize their model. So keep it simple, but do it all the way to the end. You will always be more satisfied with a finished model rather than 100 unfinished drafts. By the way, special mention for Anna, a user who understood it well. You see, it's simple, but it's pretty. Why? Because it's finished. That's what for the coaching minute. So, do we make this case? Just to start on the same basis, a short tour of the preferences used in this tutorial. First, the bevel system to set to simple and check the first box below. I will repeat it in this video, but if you are a beginner, don't use the multiple bevel system. So here we go. The view is in perspective. Press F and use the Create button. Right-click on the ground to display the grid. Change the resolution of the grid by holding the left click and moving the mouse to the right. I stop when I reach a resolution of 6. Release the click. Check that you are on the rectangle drawing tool. If not, press R and click in the center of the grid. Hold Shift to draw from the center. A new left click will validate the drawing. As always, after validating a drawing, it's the thickness. In other words, the solidify modifier, which is to be adjusted by moving the mouse once again from right to left. Left click to validate. For our first adjustment, we are going to round off the angles. Hold down the left click to display the adjustment menu, place the cursor over first bevel and release the click. By moving the cursor from left to right, you will round the corners marked with an orange dot. Left click to validate. Well, we'll now round off the remaining edges with the second bevel. Hold down the left click to display the menu. Release the click on second bevel. Move the mouse cursor from right to left, and once you are satisfied, click left to validate. Okay, you're beginning to understand how it works, and that's why Fluent is so easy to handle. Everything works on the same principle. Keep left click to display the menu. Release the button you are interested in. Move the mouse to adjust and left click to validate. And when you're done, right click to exit Fluent. We are ready for the first cut that will separate the lid from the rest of the box. Use the slice tool. Place the front view with the 1 key and on the numeric keypad, and press the 5 key to switch to the orthographic view. The rectangle tool is selected. Make a first left click in the upper left corner and move the cursor a little lower to the right. Left click to validate the drawing. Okay, I rotate the view a little to show you what happens. Move the mouse to the left to dig. Quick info. To save time, press V to automatically cross the object and this first adjustment Nothing else to do, so left click to get out of Fluent. We're gonna start by doing the bottom part. Let's select the bottom part. Press F, then press Edit. Press left click and release on second bevel. We are going to widen the bottom bevel. Once you are satisfied, left click to validate and right click to kit. For this, we will use the Inset tool. F, Inset. The grid is displayed with a right click on the face. Click on the point in the middle of the length, hold down Shift and draw something like me. Left click to validate the drawing, cursor to the left to dig, V to cross. We will now call the array adjustment. You will immediately notice that a widget is displayed. It represents the three axes along which we can repeat or cut. Now follow the instruction carefully, or you will be in for some surprises. Click on the red dot to select the desired direction. Move the cursor from right to left to adjust the gap between two repetitions. Press S. It is now count, which is the current adjustment. Moving the mouse will therefore adjust the number of repetitions. I'm going to set 4. And now I press S again to readjust the offset. Once you are satisfied with the result, a left click will validate what is done on the axis. I finished what I had to do on the array. I left click again to exit the array. I continue with the addition of a first bevel to round out the angles. Left click to validate the bevel, right click to exit Fluent. We continue with the slice for the realization of a handle. Right click on the face to display the grid, Shift to draw the rectangle from the center, left click to validate, V to cross. We will only add a first bevel for this cut. Let's use a new tool to finish this handle. First, select it and call the cut tool and don't draw anything. Instead of drawing, we switch to edit mode, which with the tab key. Quick info, when you are in edit mode, Fluent doesn't work at all. You are 100% on normal Blender operation. Let's start again. Select the face and make an inset with the high key and the left click validate the operation. We will now convert this face into a Fluent object with the shortcut Shift and I. We are back to the normal use of Fluent. Adjust the solidify, validate with the left click, then add a mirror on the green axis and exit with the right click. Now we have a very common case that you need to master. First of all, the bevel is too wide, which causes what we call overlapping. The solution is to reduce the bevel. Here, for consistency of the model, I will reduce the bevel of the three objects touching each other. I select the three objects and press F. I adjust the size of the bevel. Now, we have the number one issue, the most common problem. The problem that displays everywhere in the art surface and make everyone completely crazy, what we call the super edges. I've already talked about it in several videos, and it's sure it won't be the last time. So we have edges that are automatically edited by Blender in the corners. Very often, these edges combined with a bevel produce overlapping. The solution is the following. Add edges on the cutted object ourselves in anticipation of the cut. Select the handle and press the slash above the number pad. Your object is now isolated, which will make the work easier. Switch to edit mode with Tab, then with Ctrl and R, add an edge in the middle. Left click to add the edge and right click to place it in the middle. Press F3 and search for Fluent. Then use the second function. I don't give the full explanation of this function here, you will find it in the from above, but simply to make it simple, it will correct another bad habit of Blender, which will give surprise or even destructive results. So, here you are back in object mode with a nice clean mesh. Press slash again to display your entire model. Well, go to next cut. Use the cut tool and display the grid with a right click on the face. We are going to rotate the grid. Know that it's around the white cross that it will rotate. The cross that can be moved by a simple right click on the grid. Rotate the grid by 90 degrees by holding down the left click on the rotate Y button and then move the mouse from left to right. On the same click and drag operation, adjust the size and resolution. Select the shape drawing tool with the S key and draw this. Don't forget, if you need to delete the last point, use the backspace key. Once the drawing is done, left click to validate and add the mirror. Now, remember, if you want to change the shape of the Boolean object, you don't need to exit Fluent. Press Tab to switch to edit mode and make your changes. We are going forward with an interesting case. I go to Slice, and after right-clicking to display the grid, you can see that it goes through the whole model. Fluent extends the grid to all possible faces. Here I don't want. I want the grid to take into account only the face I clicked on. So I will use the Extend Grid button. I make my circle and add a mirror on the green and red axis. Left click to validate the mirror and right click to exit. So we can see that there is an overlap problem, so I display the wireframe to see what's going on. One of the very first things I always test is to enable and disable the loop slide option of the bevel. You can see that this will solve the problem. Let's continue with a cut. Once again, after the grid is displayed, I'm going to click on the Extend Grid button to reduce the display of the grid only to the face I clicked on. And once again, I add a mirror on the grid and the red axis to follow the previous cut. We see that here again I have a small problem of bevel which is overlapping, so I will select my object, press F and reduce the size of the bevel. For the next operation, this time I will use the creation tool. I'm still with the circle, I draw it and I validate with a left click. And then, as you can imagine, I will extend the object until it comes into contact with the hole in front of it. We just finished the bottom part. Now we can start working on the lid. Your first cutting on the lid will be a slice. I call the menu with the F key and press the slice button and right click on the top of the lid to display the grid. I look at the grid to find the middle of the edge and draw a rectangle, always keeping Shift pressed to draw from the center. Let's go to first bevel. I think you understand now. I move my mouse from left to right to adjust the width of the bevel. What we are going to do additionally here is press the C key to change the profile. As you can see, I'm stopping on a straight profile. The left click allows me to validate and I add a mirror. I'm done with this cut, so I right click to exit Fluent. To give now a little bit of detail to this part, we will select it, press F key and click on the edit button. This allows us to go back to editing this object. As a reminder, the big bevel is the result of the second bevel. So I'm going to go on this adjustment. Don't move the mouse and just press the C key with the left click. As before, the C key on the bevel adjustment allows me to modify its profile. I exit Fluent with the right click and I start the next cut. Be very careful because here we are going to see a very practical use of the grid. Something I use very often. I display the grid on the face that interests me with the right click. Look carefully. I place my cursor on one of the white dots at one end of an edge and I press X key. I move my cursor to the other end of the edge and I also press the X key. As you can see, Fluent will then align the grid on the segment. We will now rotate around the x-axis by 45 degrees. Everything is ready for the drawing of the rectangle. As you can see, the grid is a very powerful tool that would not be skipped. Learn how to use it and you will see that it will quickly become a tool you will not be able to do without. I add a little detail on this part, a simple rectangle on the top, and you will see that here once again we have an overlap problem that will also be solved by using the loop slide option. We are going to do pretty much the same operation on the other two sides. I call the slice tool, right click on the lid to display my grid and draw my rectangle, always with the shift key pressed to draw from the center. Contrary to earlier, I don't go through the whole model and I'm not going to add any bevel, just a mirror. Once the cut is finished, I get out of Fluent and select my new piece. I will edit it again like the previous one. I press F, edit, I stay left clicked to display the adjustment menu and I go to second bevel. Don't move the mouse, just press the C key. As there is nothing else to do, you can directly exit Fluent with the right click. Above all, don't give up, because we are starting a great part that will be very instructive. We start easy with the screen. It's a simple slice. The only little trick for the screen is to lower the resolution of the grid to 4. You can see that for a screen, the bevel is a little too large. So once again, select all the objects and reduce the bevel. Let's attack the numeric pad. We'll start by right-clicking on the face to display the grid. Here, I want to center my grid on the remaining length between the screen and the edge. So I come to place my cursor at one end and I press the X key. I place the cursor on the other side and press X key. And as before, you see that the grid is recalculated, moves and aligns between the 2 points. We draw a small square. To do this, we will stay pressed on Ctrl and Shift, which will allow us to draw from the center and force the drawing on the square. After validation, now you are familiar with it, we set the thickness of the cut. Once it's done, I will press the C key, which will allow us to adjust not the depth of the cut, but to offset it from the surface. My idea is that this cube will be my future button, so I make it slightly above the surface. We then move on the editing the array. I first click on the red button and move the mouse to adjust a first spacing. Then I press the S key and move my mouse, this time to adjust the number of repetitions. I'm going to go up to 10. I press S again if I want to readjust the distance between the square. As soon as it suits me, I click on the left mouse button to validate this axis and get out of its adjustment. I switch to the green axis with exactly the same manipulations. At the beginning, I adjust the distance, then I press S to go to the count adjustment, and I press S again if I need to refine the distance. Left click again to validate this axis. As you can see, the result is pitiful. In terms of topology, it's hell. The bevels are completely distorted. So, do you have any idea how we are going to do this? Once again, we are on the problem of Blender's randomly added supporting edges. So, We select the object, which is cut, and the Boolean object. Still, to work more easily, we will isolate them by pressing the slash key. We will now select only the object that is cut and press the Tab key to switch to edit mode. We move to top view with the 7 key and switch to orthographic view with the 5 key. We will reuse the Ctrl and R shortcut to add edges to our face. The goal is to make the edges pass right through the middle, the small cubes that are used for cutting. If you didn't know the shortcut Ctrl R in Blender, the hard surface is an opportunity to learn it by heart. Once all the edges are in place, by holding down the Shift key, you will select all these edges. Press F3 on your keyboard to open the search bar and look for the word Fluent and use the feature called Remove Vertices from Vertex Groups. Well, now we're happy because everything is fine. Yes, everything is fine. There is not an edge drawing. Everything is clean. You feel good. If you didn't know about this feature thing, you've made great progress. To finish, select this array of small squares, press the F key, go to the duplicate button and hold down the Shift key while clicking on it. This does what I call an extraction. The Boolean object is in fact duplicated to be used as an object. It's a perfect function for making buttons. We continue with a new cut that will once again demonstrate the usefulness of the grid. Press F, cut, and right-click on the top of the lid and raise the resolution to 22. Press S to use the shape drawing tool and draw a triangle. Start by drawing the point just above the center of the grid. Here, just make sure you follow the diagonals of the grid. For once, I'm going to enter a precise value for the depth of my cut. To do this, I stay on the Shift key and I type 0.04 on the numeric keypad and I press Enter. I continue with the addition of a mirror along a green axis, and I'm going to finish with the addition of a first bevel. I only want to set the bevel on one vertex, so I'm going to disable all the other vertices by moving my mouse away from them and pressing X key. I then place my cursor over the vertex I'm interested and I press the X key again to activate it. Here too, I will type the same value, 0.04. You will soon understand why I'm typing value here instead of random values. It's because I will need to repeat them on the next cut. Once the first bevel is finished, I exit Fluent with a right click and start it again. For the next cut, I right click on the face again to display the grid, which is still at a resolution of 22. Still with the shape tool, I draw a new triangle on which I will apply the same adjustments as the previous triangle. I type the precise value of the solidify by holding down the Shift key and validating with the Enter key. Then I add the mirror and finally the first bevel. We repeat I set my cursor away from all the vertices and I press the X key to disable all vertices. Then I go back to the vertex I'm interested with my cursor and press the X key again to activate it. Then I type in the value by holding down Shift and ending with Enter. We are going to use the shape tool, this time no grid, we are just going to place ourselves in a corner and make a first left click. I hold my control key to force the drawing in 40-45 degree orientation, which allows me to make a small right angle. And that's where we pay attention. I'm not going to validate with the left click. I'm going to validate with the space key. The only small adjustment I want to add is a first bevel. I move the mouse a bit to make it wider and press the C key to change the rounded profile to a straight profile. And as you can probably guess, we finished the cut with the addition of a mirror along the red and the green axis. Remember, you work in a non-destructive way. It's therefore easy to modify the latest cut. For example, you can select the object, switch to edit mode by pressing the tab key, and with the vertex selection make some adjustments as I do here. This is the last part for those who have the power trip version. Select the bottom part of the case and press the F button. Now you will only have to select the area that will be converted into plate. You only have to select the area that will be converted into plates. As you are in edit mode, all the classic Blender selection tools are available. Once the selection is made, press the Enter key to validate and transform all the selected faces into a new object, which is the plate. You can modify the thickness, the bevel, and add a mirror. Well, I guess you understand. You're smart people. We are going to do exactly the same thing for the light. Your model is nice, and if you want, you can continue to enhance it, as for example in my demo rendering, I added 2 slices to make lights on each side of the keyboard. And don't forget that everything remains editable. It's fundamental. If finally the grooves in the bottom part, I find them too deep, I display the Boolean object, I select the one used for this cut, I press F and I go to edit to readjust. I sincerely hope that this video will have helped you to take the tool in hand, to better see how to work with it and to improve your knowledge around the art surface that doesn't care about the add-on, but most of all, I hope you didn't just watch this tutorial. I hope you followed it, that you're going to do something about it. Because it's still the most important thing. Do it. Do it again and again. Do simple things, but do them to the end. On that note, like, share, and comment. We'll see you next time for new videos, and let's not forget that we all get tired of everything. except learning. Bye bye.